IndyCar coverage is brought to you by the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Get your tickets in the link in the description and save 20%. And coverage is brought to you by the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Support oval racing. It's this weekend. It's an oval championship. I'm so excited. Coming back to you from the Borchetta Big Machine distillery here in downtown Nashville, a place that is quickly becoming one of my favorite spots in Nashville. I mean, anytime you have a shirt with an 87 Lola on it, I feel like it's the right place in town. So we've got a lot to talk about in this video, despite the fact that there hasn't even been a race car on the racetrack today. There was a pit stop competition downtown, really exciting stuff. It's great to see everybody coming out and supporting the Nashville Grand Prix. It actually kind of feels a little bit to me, because it's weird, because it almost feels like a street course race, despite the fact that we're about to go to the oval track and go 200 miles an hour. It's a very unique vibe here in Nashville. So we're going to be talking championship today. I mean, that is the story. Alex Palou versus Will Power. And before I show you my interviews today, I would say that both drivers, when I spoke to them earlier today at the media bullpen, feel confident. In fact, Will Power seems extremely confident. Now, he's either accepted that he's got nothing to lose in terms of the championship, but I haven't seen Will Power this kind of calm and cool and collected going into a race in a very long time. So it could be a factor going in to the Nashville race. But then at the same time, Alex Palou, he's always cool, calm, and collected. So what's the difference? It's hard to get a read on Palou. He's rarely in a bad mood. So we'll start with those guys. Alex Palou up first because he is leading the championship coming into Nashville. I hope I'm not breaking this. Oh, yeah. I hope I'm not breaking this to you.
Okay.
Grid penalty?
Yes.
Difficult. They're making it a little more difficult on you, I guess. What are your thoughts on having to start at worst 10th, or at best 10th, I guess?
At best. It is what it is. At least we know we'll have a fresh engine, and hopefully it's ready to go horsepower there. But yeah, I mean, not ideal. I knew it, I would say, the day after Milwaukee, so I had my time to kind of get my mind around, but it is what it is. It's racing. I knew once we went on the fifth engine at Gateway, I knew that the mileage was probably close. So yeah, it is what it is.
Well, it's interesting. I think back to the championship finale at Laguna in 2022.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, you changed an engine then and you were pretty quick. But Will Power won the championship that day, so I don't know how you feel about that. Nashville Super Speedway. I mean, the common theme with all the drivers has been this is a complete unknown. How do you feel about that, having to decide a championship on a track that pretty much no one has any experience on?
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, it's not ideal. I would much prefer to go to Laguna or to Indy Road Course, Mid-Ohio, I don't know, somewhere like that. Or not to have rules that are different, schedules that are different, like we're not on track on Friday, having to run 2 set of alternates. Never been here. Power has been here, also 2 months ago testing, so there's some cars and drivers that run here before, which makes it a bit unfair in my opinion, but it is what it is, so yeah.
Well, that's been a bit of a talking point this weekend. I mean, I won't say who brought it up, but you have some relationship with him. But one of the things was that there's not enough practice on the weekends. I mean, how do you kind of feel about that? I know as a content creator, I wish there was more, because sometimes on Fridays it feels like we don't have anything to talk about. So as a driver, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel, unfortunately with COVID, we started cutting all the schedules out. I think we are on the limit on road and street courses, having like those 75-minute practice, then 45-minute practice straight to qualifying. But I think ovals, it's worse. Like we have one practice and straight to qualifying, then you have another practice, but let's say the grid it's already set. So it's the same for everybody, but it doesn't help when you have, let's say, a weekend that it's not looking amazing, or when you don't have enough experience. But yeah, having that said, it's the same for everybody. So,
but it's like weird at like Indy, we have a week of practice and
yeah,
we get here, and
I know
maybe one day if it doesn't get rained out.
If it doesn't get rained out, 90 minutes you need to do qualifying, you need to do race, you need to do alternates, primaries, you need to do everything in one So yeah, I would say that hopefully we can change that in the future. We don't need practice on Thursdays, but I think we need more practice sessions for everybody. I think it helps the rookies, it helps even the veterans, it helps everybody, and it helps the fans as well. Like, what do we do on Friday? We just go out to the track and see the cars run, right? Instead of just having autograph sessions.
And then, of course, Will Power, the champion who's chasing his third championship. Ironically enough, both drivers going for their third championship. That's something that I keep thinking about in my head, thinking about how long Will Power has been in this sport and how relatively short of a time Alex Palou's been in this sport. But like I mentioned at the top, Will Power seems super confident, a lot more confident, calm, cool, and collected than I usually see him. A lot of times, no offense to him, because we're staying in the same hotel, and he's already threatened to beat me up today. Now, hang on a second. He knows where I live now. I can't say anything bad about him this weekend. He could be like, I'm going to go to the 7th floor on Sunday.
Yeah, just wait for you.
We know where to take your anger out.
Yeah.
Oh, God. What
And I have plenty of that. So.
Will is always a little bit on edge. I think that's what makes Will such a great IndyCar driver. But you're going to see a very cool, calm, and collected Will Power in this interview, and I think it says something about his confidence level going into the Big Machine Grand Prix. It sounds like Alex got a grid penalty for an engine change, so he's going to start where you need him to, 10th. So, I mean, does that change, at best, right? So that changes your mind. Does that change your mindset a little bit for the championship? Because you've been so strong on these ovals. Can you start up front and dominate this thing?
Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to start at the front, lead a lap. If we can get a pole, lead the most laps. Like, so, suddenly you got 3 points or 4 points. And yeah, winning the race puts it in his hands at that point. What he does is going to determine where I finish the championship.
You're one of 3 drivers who have raced on this track, one of, I think, 4 who have actually tested an IndyCar recently here at Nashville Superspeedway. So what are your expectations for this race? I mean, can you take anything from 2008 and translate it to 2024?
No, I can't even remember that race, really, to be honest. Yeah, long time. The track's pretty cool. It's very high grip. It's got a consistent banking, so it's fun as a driver because you can drive it quite loose because you don't have a transition off the banking. But yeah, I don't know how it's going to race. I hope it I would have said that Gateway and Milwaukee were going to be bad races, but they were phenomenal.
And you did.
And I think I felt the same here, but that's just testing with 5 cars spread out. 27 cars, a very different story, a lot more fall off. Soft tires to run as well, so we'll see, man. Maybe I want it to be a boring race if I'm leading the laps.
We didn't just talk to the championship drivers, we talked to everybody else that showed up. I want to shed a spotlight really quickly on Scott McLaughlin. Now, he comes into the championship race with a mathematical eligibility in the championship, and the mathematics on that are only that he can win the championship if Alex Palou doesn't start the race at all. But I think Scott's had a really good year. In fact, I think he's had a championship year. I think if you've, and I asked him this, and this is the question you're about to see answered, he, lost the first race at St. Pete, totally wiped off the board, a 2nd place. If you replace that, Scott McLaughlin's racing for a championship in 2 days. This is what Scott had to say in evaluation of his season.
I think, yeah, everyone, that's the highlighted run, right? Yep. But, I also stuck it in the fence like a donkey at Detroit when I was running 2nd. So, I could have easily recovered that at that race. So, I don't really look at it like that. It's just circumstantial. But, I get that that's a very highlighted area. But I'm super, I guess in some ways it's proved that I can do this. We can compete year in, year out. I feel I'm comfortable on every track we go to now. There's no reason why I shouldn't be fast or winning the race at every track we go to, and that's a good confidence booster for me. And the hybrid was, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, I wonder how that's going to work, the extra weight, how it's going to feel, how I'm going to use the deployment to my advantage, and I felt really comfortable with all that. So I guess that bodes well for the future years because there's not much that's going to change in that regard. I feel like there's no reason why I can't be at this event every year.
And so I mentioned the weather. Now, this is going to be one of the great places on the internet to get live updates about any changes of plans with the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. The good news is, every time I look at the weather report, and There's a lot of wood barrels here we can knock on, but it looks like as we get closer, the weather's getting better, and that's going to be fantastic. We want to see cars out on the racetrack. That's why we do this, right? So I think it's going to be a great weekend. It already has been a great week here in Nashville, and tomorrow is when we get down to business at over 200 miles an hour. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out the coverage from the racetrack tomorrow for the first day of practice, as well as qualifications for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.